Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to a new episode of the Late Night Lake Show podcast. It is your host, Ricky and Kwame. Dropping by the Late Night Lake Show studios tonight is our boy Raj, a new member of the Silver Screen and Roll. Not really new member now. He's been hosting the I Love Basketball podcast for a little bit of time. Raj, appreciate you stopping by, man. How are you doing, all things considered?
Doing all right. I think I'm doing better than the Lakers are for sure right now, but always great coming on the Late Night Lake Show, man. Thanks for having me.
Always good to have you on, brother. We're just gonna get right into it. The Kyrie Irving saga has I don't know if it's pulled into its last stop on the station, but it's damn sure hit a pit stop if you were a Los Angeles Lakers fan, thinking that Kyrie Irving was about to possibly sign for $6 million and give up a possibly $30 million to come play for the Los Angeles Lakers and LeBron James and Anthony Davis and all the wild and great scenarios in fantasy land. And maybe we had our boy David already queued up a hype video that we now have to put back into the chest until further notice. But here we are. As of today, June 28th, year of our Lord 2022, Kyrie Irving has opted into his 1 year remaining left with the Brooklyn Nets, fulfilling his commitment to Kevin Durant. And for the Los Angeles Lakers, we were greeted with the opt-in news of one, Russell Westbrook, and his $47 million left on his wonderful contract. So everybody who has been a basketball fan or just a fan of the craziness that is the offseason is well aware of the past 72 hours with Kyrie Irving and the Lakers. Raj, I guess we could just start right here with Kyrie as of right now, still a member of the Nets, and Russ still a member of the Lakers. How much did you allow yourself to drift into the fantasy land of Kyrie actually, being on the team?
Way more than I should have, obviously. I mean, I was posting Kyrie clips. I was imagining Kyrie running pick and rolls with Anthony Davis, Kyrie on the weak side, with LeBron and AD running action on one side. I let myself get into it, and I should have learned from the Kawhi Leonard situation. But I mean, to me, when there's smoke, there's fire, and there's quite a bit of smoke here. I mean, I feel like the smoke was hot enough to where you can kind of feel it. But my issue more with the Kyrie stuff was the conversation around it. We're all on Twitter, people acting like Kyrie is Lou Williams out here. Kyrie's a 27-point-a-game scorer last year, playing half the games, playing 29 games because of the vaccine mandate. This is a guy that averaged 27 in his sleep. He shot 43% on pull-up threes last year. Like, that's a legit dude to come. And I never thought he was coming for, the $6 million taxpayer MLE. I never thought he was coming for Kendrick Nunn money. He wasn't taking a $30 million pay cut. But, Brian Windhorst, same day, said the Nets were prepared to lose KD and Kyrie. Obviously, no one really knows the real intentions of Kyrie Irving, but I definitely let myself, watching every game last year or rewatching every game last year, you watch 10 minutes of Kyrie Irving and you're gonna get in. I mean, I think a lot of people let the vaccine stuff kind of, blur how good of a player this guy is when he's healthy, and it's why he has a $37 million option that he opted into because he was different, right? So what a brave move. But yeah, it would have
been different, man.
Whatever the hell that means.
Kwame, you tend to be our reserved one here on the show. The temperature, man, you watched Kyrie up close with him playing it with LeBron before. You know what kind of magic they can make together, dog. To know, hypothetically, that we were at this yard line to possibly being up off Russ and acquiring Kyrie. I mean, did you buy the champagne, man? How close were you to thinking that this shit was actually going down? And were you like, this is Kyrie Irving, I don't trust this shit until he had the intro press conference?
Hey, man, like Raj said, after watching last season, I was grasping onto any type of hope of having a different starting point guard, like
hope dealer,
grasping at it. So I dunked my whole head in the Kool-Aid punch jar. My whole head was in there. I was fully submerged in the Kool-Aid. I wanted it. I needed it. And it didn't happen. But I don't think all hope's lost. Like I said, I was with Raj. I didn't really expect him to take that $6 million, pay adjustment, we'll call it. There was no way. Come on, man. A player of that caliber doesn't need to play a prove-it deal. Doesn't matter what he did the past season with COVID and, the vaccine mandate holdout. None of that matters. He's still worth what he can do on the court. But for me, to be honest, I really just think I would have felt a lot better if he opted in and there wasn't that vote of confidence, like, hey, I'm going back with Kevin Durant. I want to fulfill my commitment. Mm-hmm. If he was just opting in, nothing really changes on that front. When he when Shams reported his desires to stay in Brooklyn and fulfill his commitment, his 4-year commitment and his commitment to Kevin Durant, I was like, well, that kind of sucks, because then that changes it, right? Because I had expected all along the path to us getting him would have been a 3-team trade. That was what I always kind of expected.
Or larger, right?
Yeah, like, or larger, correct.
We heard every team that had cap space. Lakers fans, rest assured, Rob Pelinka nod right there, that they were going to find a scenario where he was out of the building and Kyrie was coming in.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I hear the gut reaction. I hear the hurt. I hear the pain in our hearts. Right. I was right there with y'all. I don't know if I'm dead yet. I don't know if this is done. Like Brian Windhorst said, he said the door is closed but not locked. I'm not really even at that point yet.
So you want us to live in purgatory? Is that what it is? We're supposed to just stay in purgatory?
Just hold. Just a little bit of hope. We don't need a lot. Just a little bit.
Let's break it down, fellas. Let's do it. Tinfoil hats back on. What has happened? Russell Westbrook has opted in. What also has happened? Kyrie Irving has said he is going to opt in. And Shams then comes out and says that, it's up to the Nets to decide to do what they're going to do with this situation. Mm-hmm. They were using every Wordle word in the dictionary to come up with a way to describe the situation between Kyrie and the Nets organization. Now that Kyrie has opted in, is this fucking Candyland all of a sudden? We just shoots and ladders. You could just skip to where it's all sunshine and rainbows. Like, for everything that everybody was saying, the Nets ownership, they were some hard asses. What?
Yeah.
We Gucci now, Raj, or do you think that this cookie still got to, bake a little bit more?
Well, I think if it was anyone else, it'd be done. But I think Kyrie Irving, that situation definitely wasn't great, right? I mean, they didn't offer him the extension, so he never got the extension. It was reported that he went out. It was kind of reported a little bit strange, but it said that he went out and looked for sign-in trades that were not available, right? And then that was honestly not the Lakers' best way, because they would have hard capped them to get a sign-in trade. So this was the way to get him.
Correct.
I'd rather still the preference way. Hold on, Rod. Wait, 1 second. Is this not? It is not. Again, I know I'm talking way out my ass, and this is going to be a mute point in like 27 minutes. But is this still not, all things considered, sans Kyrie's comment, the best route for the Lakers to still have flexibility with acquiring Kyrie?
It is, definitely. It definitely is. The only problem here is that when you start looking around, because free agency moves very quickly, free agency is about to begin, the Nets number one, they want to win, so you have to find pieces that would solve that issue for them, because they have Kevin Durant on a 4-year deal, who I don't think they want to move, and they just got Kyrie to opt in. Ben Simmons, I think, still plays basketball. Like, I think he's still playing basketball next year. So that's the tough part. The leverage for Kyrie was I'll go take the discount. Now, how much the Nets believe that leverage, who knows? How much Kyrie was actually going to do that, who knows? But I think that was his leverage. He's now signed on. He has no choice of where he plays. They can trade him kind of anywhere. He still has the threat of leaving after 1 year, but there's still a chance, I guess. Windhorst, Zach Lowe also said that high-ranking people around the league still believe that there's a chance Kyrie can get to the Lakers, just continuing to let my dreams run wild, I guess, for a couple more days. But there's still a chance, but I think the Lakers can have to kind of, move past and try to find deals to get Russell Westbrook off the team without, still waiting for Kyrie Irving, who looks like he wants to just go enjoy his summer now and show up to Brooklyn in the fall.
Hey, I'm gonna be honest, man. If I'm Rob, I'm not losing the Nets number. I'm gonna be honest. If you can find a decent deal, again, he opted in, and the main problem at hand was never solved. Kyrie did not get his extension. That was the main problem. That was never solved. Him opting in doesn't solve that. And still, if they're uncertain of him, I mean, unless they're just their plan is just play it out this year, see what they do. If he shows up every night, every day, maybe then they offer him the extension. Maybe that's their route. But if they have no intention of signing him long term, who's to say they don't ship him at any point? At that point, they can send him out of here whenever they feel like it. So I think there's still a chance, but it would have to be a really sweet deal for them. And I don't know if, I'm not a capologist or none of that. So I don't necessarily know all the scenarios that could be imagined to make this trade happen. But I don't think it's completely dead. But, the heartbeat is slowed dramatically, I would say. So, but like you said, Raj, I agree with you. I really think the Lakers should just, at this point, if that doesn't seem like the best option, just refocus and just focus on getting number 0 off the roster for some depth or literally anything.
Y'all trying to move past this a little too quick for my liking. We know, y'all letting this die. I'm putting the tourniquet on it. I'm trying to stop the bleeding. Okay, y'all sounded like this might have bled out, but the Nets have an expiring contract on their hands. They have an expiring contract on their hands that's called them everything but a child of God. Like I don't know, man. Call me crazy, call me whatever, but I don't think that this pot still has one more boil in it before I completely turn it off. That's all I'll say. So
that's fair. That's fair. Kwame, you said something interesting. I think you said depth. I want to ask you guys. So there was a conversation around: would you rather get Kyrie or would you rather get the Charlotte deal with his depth? Right? Where did you guys kind of fall on that? Because I have an interesting kind of thing about that. But I want to ask you guys: what do you think? Were you on the just get Kyrie side, get the talent, and go, or go do the Charlotte deal, get the Gordon Hayward, Kelly Oubre, PJ Washington, Mason Plumlee. Sorry, I think they have Mason Plumlee. And Mason Plumlee. Where did you guys kind of fall on that?
I said grab Kyrie, man.
Okay.
Hey, take the talent when it's there, man. Like I said, depth is cool, but hey, if you literally take last year's team, I know for all its shortcomings, you take Russell Westbrook and launch him, and you take Kyrie and put him in that spot, I think it's a completely different season for many, many reasons. Obviously, he would have had to play, so there's a little caveat there, but I think it's a completely different season. I think his skill set is way more complementary. Imagine having a point guard next to LeBron that could shoot. Like, man, haven't seen that in our Lakers tenure yet. So that'd be nice to have. So that's what I'm saying. I was on that side. I'm a fiend for the stars. I like the bright light. So that's where I was. I was take Kyrie.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with Kwame. Run me my stars. I'm sorry. Like the Clippers have superstars, right? And no, the Clippers have the most depth in the United States going on 3 years in a row. They just keep getting deeper. Pause. But they can't get over the hill because their superstars are not there when the dance is time. So that's what the league is, right? Like, why are the Warriors NBA champs? Because they have 3 Hall of Famers in the starting lineup.
4 max contracts on their payroll.
4 max contracts. It's I think it's as much as we wanted to say, and I still agree that, the super team era is over. I think that's because guys are making $1 gajillion now and folks aren't about to trade luxury tax for that. But I honestly think it's, when you have a guy that's top 10 when healthy, add him. What about you, Raj?
Yeah, I was all on Kyrie. And my main reasoning is that I keep hearing depth, right? And I agree. Like, we're kind of desperate. So if Charlotte comes and calls tomorrow, Mitch Kupchak, bless him, if he calls tomorrow and says, to give us Russell Westbrook, we want to pay Miles Bridges. We'll give you Gordon Hayward, Miles Plumlee, Kelly Oubre. Is that really depth, though? Like,
right.
just go along with me here. Gordon Hayward and Kyrie both have injury / they don't play as many games as you want to. Gordon Hayward played, I believe, 49 games last year, which is actually 9 more than Anthony Davis played, which is kind of interesting. Gordon Hayward feels like more injury concerned, but he actually played more games than I thought. But okay, Gordon Hayward's starting now. But your depth is Kelly Oubre, who I think comes from the same school of Kent Bazemore basketball. Like, I think those two play kind of in a similar way. And then it's Mason Plumlee. Like, your team is still a bunch of vet minimums, Taylor Horton Tucker, Kendrick Nunn, who I don't know what you're getting if you package those with a first round pick. So like that's still your team. Like it's still a bunch of vet minimums. Austin Reeves, bless the guy we just drafted, Max Christie. Like let's see what they can do. So I would have got the star. I would have went and got Kyrie Irving, whoever superstar is available. But that I mean, Ricky, you're saying that ship hasn't sailed yet. I hope you're right. I feel like I'm watching it go off the horizon. Like I feel like the ship is pretty far into the ocean. But if you're saying Kyrie can turn that ship around and decide to come and hook it back on Los Angeles land, then that'd be awesome. But yeah, it would have been nice. We're desperate though. Like the Charlotte deal would be great. Like if that can be still pulled off, it's the media's not saying anything that it would be. But yeah, so I would have definitely leaned Kyrie for sure. I think that would have been a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And I think a lot of the reason people were, tiptoeing the line of depth is, like you said, the discourse around Kyrie. They were talking about him like he was Lou Williams. Like he's not just your average player. Like this is a generational talent when he suits up. Like what are we talking about here? So I'm with you there. I think a lot of people were a little misguided by last year's antics and forgot about the production on the court.
He's 30 years old, man. Kyrie Irving is 30 years old. He's a year older than Anthony Davis timeline.
Yeah,
it's right off into the sunset together.
We watched KCP like be the third best player on a title team from the space that like Anthony Davis and LeBron created. Just imagine Kyrie in those advantageous situations. Kyrie attacking closeouts. Your third best defender on Kyrie Irving. I regress, but I mean, like that would have just been incredible to watch for sure.
Don't use past tense terms.
I'm sorry.
Damn it.
That would be incredible to watch. Yes.
Thank you so much. All right. Hey, we're going to go a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about what the Lakers did do as far as their cap situation. One, Mr. Russell Westbrook, in every right that he has in his contract, opted in into his $47 million 1 year remaining deal. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about if the Lakers have something up their sleeve to put him out of Los Angeles, or if we are believing that Darvin Ham and company can turn this around. Hope they got their scuba suits on. Late Night Lake Show. We'll be back.
The Late Night Lake Show podcast is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best legal way to play daily fantasy player props in states like California, New York, Texas, and more. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. The best part is you can mix players from different sports. You can take the over on LeBron combined with the under on Mahomes in the same entry. Prize Picks is the easiest way to play daily fantasy because it's just you versus the projected numbers. Just use our promo code LNLS and any deposit you make can receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So go support the brand and go win you some money. It's the best of both worlds. Again, use our promo code LNLS.
Get it, chip, sunk. I should probably say that.
I see what you did there.
You got it. You tried. Okay.
I see what you did there.
You see Russ doing videos on his way to sign a $47 million. I would make sure I would have both hands on the wheel. I'd make sure I'm getting to that. Right. I'm getting there safely. He's over here making videos on the way to signing.
Right. I would have had a police escort with me. I'm getting my buddy.
Hey, the way said he didn't, Chip. He got the Tesla doing auto.
He probably was riding around LA. I heard he's a wanted man for the crimes he committed against Laker Nation.
Right. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. You know what? Late Night Lake Show, we're back. It's Ricky, it's Kwame. We are joined by Raj, stopping by, friend of the show. Speaking of which, we have some friend of the show shirts that we're gonna send out to all of our guests on Late Night Lake Show. So Raj will be one of our first to rock the Late Night Lake Show friend of the show shirt. So if you want it, you can buy it at latenightLakeShow.com. It's not even listed. You got to search for it. Good luck. But in any event, we have Agent Zero back in the fold. You ask Darvin Ham. He's excited. You ask people who ask the front office. They're excited. You ask any Lakers fan outside of the ones that just came over in the Russell Westbrook migration, they are livid. And it's not even that this is surprising. Of course he was going to opt into that money. Of course he was. I think it's because we got so excited that there was the opportunity he was about to get flipped like right around now. Right? And that's just not the case with how the Kyrie situation unfolded. But in any event, Russell Westbrook takes care of step one of the offseason, that what we hope is a fruitful one for our Los Angeles Lakers. A lot of moves are to be made. First and foremost is the big Russ decision. Raj, we've heard what the coaching staff has said. We've heard that Russ is excited to play for Ham and being in his system. Do you buy that Russell Westbrook is about to suit up opening night for the LA Lakers?
No, I don't buy it, but I feel like I'm being sold very hard on it. Like, I feel like someone is really trying to get me to buy it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they are at my front door trying to sell me this, and I keep closing the door. I don't think so. I just don't know how someone could watch all of last season unless they stop watching in December and January. But I don't know how you watched all of that last season and then bring this back. And I get the DeAndre Jordan, I get blaming on Frank Vogel, I get blaming on lineups and situations. You can bring all that context you want. LeBron, AD, and Russ played 400 minutes together, played 21 games, around 25% of the season, 20% of the season. They were a minus 3.5 net rating together on the floor. Like, it's difficult to be negative next to LeBron and AD. Like, those two together should be, a dominant two just by themselves. You put another player on there, it shouldn't bring you down to a negative 3.5. So I just don't think the bridge between where Russ needs to be and what this team needs is just too far. I don't think a coaching staff changes that. I think this is a bet on Darvin Ham. I just think it would be unfair for his first year to have to go through this, to set a culture and then try to, integrate Russ into whatever you're trying to do. And then it doesn't even talk about the team building concerns that it gets you. Trying to build a team around Russ, LeBron, AD. You're all minimums. You're all vet minimums. You have one $6.5 million thing to play with. So I don't think so. I still think Charlotte or Indiana eventually cave. They have their own reasonings why. And Charlotte wants to pay Miles Bridges. Indiana, they have their reasoning. So I think it still happens, but I feel like the Lakers and everyone is really trying to sell me on that Russ is going to be here opening night. So I'm a little bit worried, but I still fall on the path that he's going to be moved. What do you guys think?
Kwame, I know you're worried. I know you're worried.
To say the least, man. I cannot. I cannot do this. I cannot do this again if he suits up opening night. I don't know what I'll do. Like it won't be good for my head, my heart, none of it. It'll be bad for my overall general health. So I think it's in the best interest for a lot of people for him to, and even himself. I mean, in his, exit interview, there was not a lot of positives to take from there, from ripping on the coach, the fans, people not letting Russ be Russ, whatever. Come on, man. I don't think a simple coaching change fixes that. I mean, if you're any of those guys are in that locker room looking around like, dog, did you see your own highlights? Right. Like, this wasn't our fault. You went out there and played like bum juice. Like, how are you mad at us? So I mean, I get it. I get, you have to say the right things about a player that is still under contract with your organization. You got to keep it clean. Again, there's no guarantee you can offload him. So you got to just prepare for the worst. I get it. But I think the Lakers are going to turn every stone possible to ensure that he is not there for every reason that we saw last season, all 82 of them. There was a lot. So I think there's quite a bit, or I guess he only played 80, right? Whatever, close enough. There's a lot of reasons to say this, we shouldn't run this back. Doesn't matter what you're talking about. So again, I appreciate, Ham's kind words, the recognition of his greatness of the past and all that, but he's a far away from that. He's not that same player. And again, we're paying 47 million smackers for a role player. And like, we don't even role player might even be a stretch at this point. What he did last season was criminal. So I can't watch that again, in all honesty. I really hope that that's not the case. And again, I get it. People want to cling on to that first round pick. Don't Don't trade it for us. Just run it back. They made their bed. They should lay in it. Yeah, whatever. Send that pick.
How old is that pick right now? What grade is that pick in?
It's a 7th grader.
Come on, man. Ship
what are we doing? What are we doing? Like,
we have a window, and we should do whatever we can to maximize the window.
Well, Kwame, you said something. You said role player, and I think that's the interesting part of this. You hear, late night lake show. You hear the spaces. You hear the heart of the fan base. The exit interview and the stuff that Russ says. You could throw that all out. That's all concerning as well. But just even on the basketball floor, like he's a bad point of attack defender. He reaches in when he's at the top of the key. He loses his man off ball. He doesn't box out. He's a good rebounder. Like the gap from that to like, we don't just need a role player. We need a role player that embraces being a role player, right? Like Darvin Ham, the player he described at his press conference, that's like Marcus Smart. That's like Draymond Green. Like that's the type of players you need. And getting Russ from like what that was last year, which is a player that had the ball in his hands, superstar responsibilities. That means also like you're able to not defend, right? Because your role is an offensive player. You have the load on yourself, but we need him off the ball. He's a bad off the ball player. We put the ball in Austin Reeves' hand because we didn't want Russell Westbrook to have the ball in his hands. We put Russell Westbrook in the corner, and it was still, he'd stay in the dunker spot, like he wouldn't space. So I think the gap from that to like where you need to go, like you just can't have this guy on your team just from a basketball fit, and then you add on all the outside stuff from it, let Russ be Russ stuff, which is it's funny, but you listen to the exit venue. And that's a serious, thing for him, having the ball in his hands. Like, that's something that matters to him. So I just think we're so far from that. And again, Darvin Ham, to me, changing the coach doesn't really change the player to become like, this is something that Russ has to embrace. And I think he's far from that. Like, it took Carmelo a year out of the league and he still didn't really change, right? Carmelo just played less. He still didn't defend at a high level. We still ran isolations for Carmelo Anthony. But like that's I think we're just so far from where we need Russ to be. So I don't know. Role player is a good word. I just like he needs to embrace being a role player, and I think Russ isn't at that stage of his career. He's making $47 million next year. Like who? Like the checks don't say he's a role player. Like what's going to tell him he's a role player? So.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's tough to change your complete play style when you're a former MVP, 2-time scoring champ, triple-double leader. Like when you look at the back end, there's no way this guy's going to change at this point of his career. I think he is who he is. And I don't think he's a fit with what we have. So I think it's, again, in the best interest of all parties if this union ends.
Yeah, I mean, Kwame, when you were naming the team, I think everybody was naming the two teams who's have popped up the most in the Russell Westbrook sweepstakes: Charlotte, Indiana. But the one team that I think has a strong case for him is the team that he started with, the team that is just sitting on the stockpile of assets, the Oklahoma City Thunder. I truly think that Russell Westbrook's preference, even over playing for the Lakers right now, is going back home to play for the Thunder. I just feel like at this point in his career, he needs to go back to where people who know how he is and people who have already embraced his personality and how he gets down, right? He was an MVP in Oklahoma City. He got the keys to the city and opened up another school, recreational program, something great, something amazing, right? Russ has imprinted himself as a pillar in that community. Go there. Go be with those people. Go be with the people that love you. The Los Angeles Lakers are done with the experiment of Russell's Brussels, okay? The fan base is done with Russell's Brussels. Russell Brussels is done with the Russell Brussels experiment in Los Angeles. He is smiling because you can't break his soul. You cannot break his soul because he's $47 million for one calendar year of playing basketball. Why not go back to the people who are going to throw pedals at your feet with zero expectations of winning? Zero. If anything, Sam Presti looked at what Russell Westbrook did for the Lakers last year and said, we need that number one pick, goddammit. Get him here immediately. That's what I'm trying to focus on, folks. I want Russ to be happy and off the basketball team that I love. That is all I care about at the end of the day. I don't care about a 7th grader. I don't care about a 5th grader right now. Okay? I'm smarter than both of those motherfuckers, and they don't matter at this current moment for Lakers basketball. What's important is getting us back in the playoffs. It's time, damn it. I want a seat at the goddamn table. Russ, I hope that you have an amazing life and amazing end to your career. Ride off into the sunset and let this just be a quick little Team Rocket blip in the sky. But damn it, 2 years in Los Angeles, brother, that is going to do irreparable damages. It is, and nobody needs that. Nobody.
I enjoyed your Team Rocket reference. That was nice. I like that. Yeah, that was good. It's good.
Is that Team Rocket NBA comp? Was that what that was? I gotta go look at what Team Rocket is, I guess.
Gosh, dog, you are. Oh God.
Nah, man, but you're right, man. But Russ, yeah, he's got.
I don't think Russ wants to be here, man. He's just not saying it. At the end of the day, I think Russ is ready to move on. I think the Lakers are ready to move on. They are just doing everything to make Russ. They're doing everything, one, to put this as a Vogel issue, in my opinion. Yeah. That last season was because, of the incompetence of the head coach not understanding the players. And now we have a coach that understands the players. That's the front of this house. That's the lemonade stand sign up front. In the back, you got 9 sous chefs flipping through deals right now. Until we get to that free agency tracker and we'll transition into that, how do the Lakers operate? You have a Russell Westbrook trade scenarios you have to vet and run through. Then you also got to fill out a roster before you are rosterless, a la the summer of Kawhi, where you started scrambling around just picking up whatever left on the floor.
Which worked out, honestly.
We flipped it and did what we needed to do. But you're looking at what's going to be available this offseason, Raj. I don't think we're in that headspace right now. If you were the Lakers right now, how do you navigate these two lanes? And when does one become more important than the other?
I think the Russell Westbrook thing has to be decided before you do any, because there's only when you're team building, and if Russell Westbrook's a part of that, then that really gives you a narrow way you have to go, right? Like all the people around have to be able to shoot and they have to be able to defend. And I'm not sure where you're finding two-way players, but I mean, that's kind of where you have to go to if Russell Westbrook's on your team now, if you can move him. And I think they'll know this pretty soon. Like usually free agency moves pretty quickly. So they should have an idea if they're doing their jobs there. Kurt Rambis, Pelinka, whoever's in the room, they should know if it's, if you're getting Malcolm Brogdon, if you're getting Gordon Hayward, if you're getting Miles Plum, those things should be known. I think your Oklahoma City thing is interesting. The issue, though, again, is, this is what's reported, is they don't want to give up a first rounder and they don't want to take back future salary, right? And if you're doing neither of those, you're not doing trades. So exactly. you're not getting any trades. So
they're lying straight up to my face then. Okay. You cannot be this goddamn selective with what you have in your pocket. I'm not about to make any comps or analogies, metaphors. I've done plenty of that on this episode already. But you cannot be so goddamn stubborn when you have to get better. And what Rob said, Raj, what that motherfucker tell me? He told me to rest assured.
Did you rest assured?
Does it look like I'm resting assured right now?
Well, here's the part of that which makes no sense, because I don't think LeBron's in a vacuum. Yes, you keep Russ. If we're in a vacuum, you keep Russ and you go on to the next season. But we're not in a vacuum. This is LeBron's year number 20, right? This is year 20 for LeBron James. And the first round pick thing doesn't really make it's hard for me to believe this is the front office that values first round picks like they're gold. The Dennis Schroeder deal, we forget it because we laugh at Dennis Schroeder, but we traded a first round pick and Danny Green. I know everyone has their, have their conversations around Danny Green. I remember coming on the Late Night Lake show and I said I would take Danny Green on our team. I think it was a couple months ago, but so we traded a first round pick from there for Dennis Schroeder, who we then let walk, right? We traded a first round pick in the Russ deal. So those are 2 first round picks that we just gave away, even though, we look back now and we could use those 2 first-round picks. So I don't think this is the summer you do that. We have, I think, like 5 of our next 6 first-round picks. So if you want, I think like you have to move them. But if you don't, you're not doing any moves. Like everyone knows our situation. Everyone knows the leverage that we have. When you go in and say, hey, here, take Russ off our hands and give us good players, you're not only paying the first-round pick to get good players, you're also paying to get off Russell Westbrook. So it's like it's a double thing. So I think they eventually cave and give up some kind of draft equity to get players. But it's what we're being sold, man. They're coming at the door and telling us we're not taking future salary. We're not giving up future equity, which means you're not doing moves. You are keeping Kendrick Nunn, Taylor Horton-Tucker, minimums, Austin Reeves. Like that's your
And
team. If that's your stance, but I don't think that's their stance. I don't believe that. Their past history doesn't. The past history doesn't display that.
And Kwame, I asked this on the timeline. I just got done asking this. Like, what's the end game? The Lakers don't want to give up future assets. For what? For who? Why? Why? What's out there? What's up there next offseason that's so damn sexy that we don't want to commit long-term salary for? Is there any type of sense that this is making for you, Kwame, or are you seeing through the bullshit? And this is smoke screens, right?
It's got to be a smokescreen. Like Raj said, if you're not willing to take on future salary or package up these first-round picks, you're not doing any trades. No team is going to do us the favor of, you know what? We'd love to help you out. We'll just take Russ for nothing. No, that's not happening. So again, everybody knows our situation. They saw the product that was trotted out last year. It would take a miracle for us to trot out a similar roster and have different results. A literal miracle. Teams aren't buying it. We're going to have to cough up that first round pick. What I'm finding it hard to believe is that the fan base is really like, keep the picks, don't trade them. LeBron's holding us hostage. You know what? And this is going to bring up an interesting point because there's a small sect of Lakers fans that obviously still hate LeBron. There's smiling faces with hidden agendas everywhere. They're all around the place. But there's a small sect that's like, you know what? This is great. If LeBron's tenure with the Lakers is deemed a failure, that's great because I always hated him. There's a small group that really is still vibing on that. And I feel it. I smell it through the timeline. You suckers aren't slick. I see y'all. I see each and every one of y'all. And that's cool. That's cool. You should just embrace the guy that plays for your team instead of hating on something back from 2008, 2009. Let it ride, you dweebs. But again, like I said, I think you got to maximize the window. I'm not buying it. I think they have to make this trade because again, there's no flexibility, man. At that point, where are we going to go from here? We're going to sign a bunch of minimums again. Are there better minimums out there? We don't have a ton of options when we have the third highest salary in the NBA sitting on our roster doing nothing for us. We have to move that contract for anything at this point. Again, I don't know what other is there. I mean, I heard that there's no discussion of a buyout. So where do we go? Where do we go from here?
Well, there's a huge backdrop to all this. LeBron James extension eligible on August 4th, right? So that's a huge deal. And you talked about what are we saving cap space for? I mean, if LeBron signs his extension, then you only have like $25 million in cap space, I believe, next season anyway. So that's not enough for a max slot anyway. So yeah, I just don't think like this is I think this is smokescreen. I think that's a good word to use for this. But we'll see in a few days. Like, I just don't know how you build the team out that can match whatever culture Darvin Ham wants to set. He talked about a 1-4 out system, right? He wants to run more. He talked about running principles. He talked about Anthony Davis being the key. Like that all stuff surrounds a roster that makes sense. If you have Russell Westbrook on the team, that just really narrows your point that you can go to. That really narrows the road that you're walking on. So I think he still gets moved. Like there's minimum free agents out there. I think we're like 4th on the list of vet minimums decision making, right? I think it's the Warriors.
Exactly.
The Clippers just got John Wall.
The Bucks are up there still, dog. Like
exactly.
You got teams that are ready to ride, and it's it's impossible. I'm at that point to think that this is the roadmap, and that's why we talked about this pre-show. I refuse to allow myself to think at this point that we are that incompetent as a franchise. We are that far away from reality that this was a real collective decision that was made. And the only person I wouldn't put at fault is Darvin Ham, because he's the only person with nothing to gain for, coming at Russ or saying, not acknowledging Russ or doing anything but saying, I'm going to make this work with Russ. But at the end of the day, the three of us are aligned. I pulled some of the people from a Lakers Twitter. I asked all of them, gun to your head, is Russell Westbrook a Laker opening night? 7 out of 8 of them said no. So I think there's a lot of panic at the disco right now. But if this is actually smoke and mirrors, we're going to get a surprise in the next couple of days. We're going to get a 4th of July, the holiday weekend surprise. And yes, it might be for depth, and it might not be for the sexiest of players, but at least we get to reset. I think everybody, mostly everybody in the fan base, and a lot of people probably in the organization, is ready for a reset to go along with our new head coach in this new era of Lakers basketball. My prediction is they're gonna pull a rabbit out of their hat. We're gonna get something back that we were not expecting.
Hey man, as long as it's gonna be real, my stomach is gonna drop when I start seeing the Lakers sign blank for vet minimum notifications. When those start rolling in, man, that's when I think we know.
Real quick, Raj, speaking of vet minimum names, are there any? Let's go down the path of Russ is here. We have the TP.
Oh man! So all we have is the taxpayer MLE, which is Kendrick Nunn money. That's what that is.
Yeah. Okay. It's got that, and then a bunch of slots for vet minimum salaries. Let's run through the game real quick. Raj fills out a roster. What names would you be looking at to try to surround LeBron, AD, and Russell Westbrook's salary?
Yeah, it's not fun going from Kyrie on the taxpayer MLE to these names for sure. But I mean, my favorite probably out of them is Gary Harris. Like, I think that's a nice reclamation. A guy who was actually really good on a really good team not too long ago. Like, I think Gary Harris would be legit if you can get him for a taxpayer MLE. DeLon Wright, I think, would be a nice pickup as well. Point of attack defending guard. And then from there, I mean, maybe Malik Monk. I saw Malik Monk be kind of polarizing on the timeline, but I mean, Malik Monk, I think his offense kind of warrants the defensive concerns. And then from there, it's kind of tough. I mean, I thought, Taurean Prince could be a choice, but he just got picked up, re-signed with Minnesota Timberwolves. Those are the guys that I would like. But I mean, I hope people are ready. Like, the list isn't long. Like, it's not a, like, I think Moses Brown got released by the Cavs today. I think it'd be a nice veteran minimum signing. But like, that's where we are. Like, if this is the route that we go to, these are the types of names that are coming. Like, you're getting reclamation projects, or you're getting young guys who you hope to fill out. Like, that's your roster. You don't have any mid salaries coming other than THT, who's going to make $10 million next year, who I hope THT has some kind of better role next year, but that's your roster really. So that's why I think you need to move Russ for mid-level contract. But if you can't do that, then you're on vet mins, reclamation projects, young guys who are going to play in Las Vegas in a few weeks. And those guys are legit. They are playing for playing time. Like, not every Vegas team can say that. Like, those I forgot the shooter's name that we signed. Not Max Christie, but the other shooter's name. Like, they're playing for real minutes.
Something, yeah.
Yes, Cole Swindler. I think Swindler or something like that. Yeah, so like, you hit enough threes in Las Vegas, you may be catching basketballs from LeBron James. Like, that's kind of where that's where we're at with the decision making, and we'll see. I mean, if you keep Russ, you need to hit every marginal move. Do you expect them to hit every marginal move? Like, it's a tough thing to kind of look at the hill that we're climbing up. So to me, Russ needs to be number one. Either he's on the team or he's traded, but that decision needs to be realized before you get into free agency. But those are my choices. Like, for taxpayer MLE, it's not a great list. It's not. I have to do more research on it, but for right now, those are.
No, you don't. No, you do not, Raj. You don't need to do shit, because we are going to keep the faith alive that the Lakers are going to pay the toll and go through, take the expressway of improving instead of going up the mountain when it's snowing outside. That the toll is a first round pick. Okay. And if it's a really bad freeway, it might be another one, but damn it, it's going to save us a year of sanity. And we talked about it. Lakers just, come on, baby. Come on now. You can't do this to us. you can't do this to us like that. You know, LeBron's not here for much longer, guys. Anthony Davis is going to only care about this for so much longer. Right? Like everybody's already throwing AD into 1,000,007 trade scenarios.
Are you not watching his Twitch streams that we're saying? Are you not watching Anthony Davis?
I'm not watching. He's only inspired me to actually play GTA Online, but every time I do, I'm literally getting assassinated within 45 seconds. It's one of the nastiest online experiences out there. I thought Call of Duty was rough. You piss off the wrong person in GTA and you are stalked for an hour and a half. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Well, I don't want to go around that right, but please, hey guys, it's Ricky, it's Kwame, it's Raj. Your boys. Don't fucking do this to us.
Don't let us do this again, please.
Yeah, the next episode will not be pretty. It will not be pretty. And we'll just leave it at that. You know, good positive spirits. Raj, this was supposed to be a lot more fun of an episode, but as always, bro, it's a pleasure having you on here. We'll just have to do a quick little double back right after free agency ends and talk about the brand new revamped Los Angeles Lakers roster and how great of shrewd moves and intelligent decision making the front office made and how they weren't bent over and somebody got their draws at the end of the day. But we'll see it, man. Any parting words for us before we go into the abyss of free agency?
Just keep a lookout. Hopefully, Russ has moved. But if he's not, be prepared for a rough season. But I see a lot of people saying they won't watch. Stop it. You're gonna watch. I mean, you're going to watch.
What else are you gonna do? Hang out with your family? Yeah, okay. You haven't hung out with them yet.
Wow. Yeah. It's gonna be an interesting next couple weeks, man. It's gonna be real interesting to see what goes down. I mean, I don't have many words. There's not much to say unless Russ is the catalyst to it all. If he stays, if he goes, that's the trigger right there. So that'll tell us everything we need to know.
Yeah, this roster has been flipped 4 straight times. I mean, I don't see why this would be the reason to stand pat. That would
exactly.
We have never kept the same roster.
So it wouldn't make sense. So that's the thing I'm holding on to, Ricky. I love your, the positivity that both of you are kind of bringing on this. So hopefully you guys are right, man. I'm not. That Kyrie door, I guess, is open technically. You haven't put 3 locks through it, I guess. There's a little crack on it, but yeah, I hope you're right, man.
Well, like Malika Andrews says, but is often my quote on the timeline, we are monitoring the situation closely. Mm-hmm. That'll do it for this episode of Late Night Lake Show podcast. Thank you so much, Raj, for stopping by and chopping it up with us. Real quick, the folks already know, but remind them once again where they can find your content.
Sure. Twitter name change, no more unwritten rules. Got my real name up there at Raj Chipalu. You can follow me on listen to the SS Silver Screen and Roll stuff. Been writing for Odds Jam as well as more general NBA. So, but I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me. This is always fun. I definitely want to come back when Russ is traded. Have a little bit more.
I like that.
You see the positivity.
Better conversation. Yes.
Positive energy. All right, that'll do it, folks. Y'all be safe. Take care of your loved ones, and maybe take off work on Thursday. It could get a little rocky. Late Night Lake Show. Peace.